Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to be back. Okay, so today put out a question about how did you become on your spiritual path, or exactly. Let me look how. We're just going to keep it real, you guys. So let me get up here and look on the YouTube. Okay, so here it is. What inspired you to embrace your spiritual path? So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to tell you a story about how I embraced it, became it, how it actually came to me. I am going to tell you that now, in it's been like 14 years in my spiritual path. I believed I was having a spiritual awakening, but I believe that it came to me. Like, I wasn't chasing it. I didn't say, well, I want to be spiritual. That wasn't how my spiritual path happened. So, the first thing that I remember is always remembered is that I was like, I don't even know why I'm here. And this is when I was a little girl. I would say, ask my mother, and you can ask her now. I'd always say, you know, why am I here? And what are we doing here? And why do we live here? And all these things. And I was like, so back then I don't know, exactly what I was saying, but now I was always like, I knew there was something out there that was better than what I was living. So when I first began having my spiritual awakening, as you could say, I lived in a different town, and I lived with my husband of 26 years at that time. And we were having, actually, we weren't having at the time that much stress. We were actually just now getting comfortable into our life where we were owning homes, we were owning rentals, we were getting new cars. It was that time in our life. Our kids were getting older. My daughter had already left. Um, but it was some kind of underlying stress that I did not know that was going on. Unconscious mind. Back then, I didn't know what an unconscious mind is, subconscious mind, spiritual thing. I did not know any of this. So, this is when I lived in my house that I owned on Hickory Drive. And it was, I was just feeling overwhelmed with stress. And I started having heart palpitations. So I was having so bad heart palpitations that I was physically going to the hospital. And I was like, I call them death experiences, because they told me, we are going to shut your heart down, because they waited for like an hour for my heart to just calm down, calm down, calm down. It would not stop. So they injected me with something, and it stopped my heart and started it back. Well, at this time, I'm screaming. My husband's saying, "You're screaming, saying you can't. I can't die yet. I can't die yet. My grandson doesn't know me. I'm not done living." I was like, I don't know. I guess I was feeling at the time, because I don't remember the feeling of it, but I just was like, I'm not dying yet right now. I have too much stuff to do. Um, so it was just so weird. Now that I remember, it is coming back to me. I remember it's like, it was so scary, like thinking that you're just going to die, and because you're having heart palpitations. And the whole time, this happened a bunch. A bunch. I was smoking, I was drinking pop, I was, eating bad, doing all the things that I was always taught to do. So I was always taught to smoke and drink, like my whole family. We're from New York, a bunch of New York and smoking, drinking animals. And so that's how we lived. We lived our life like that. And because of that, I attracted the people that were in my life like that. Um, but at this point in my life, oh my God, I was like in my 40s. So I think my body because part of your spirituality is your body, was saying, we've had enough. We've had enough of all this bullshit. But my mind, I want to tell you something about my mind. My mind's always known that we had enough of all this bullshit, but I just didn't know how to bring it out. I didn't know how to figure it out. I didn't know what words to put on it. I didn't know it was a spiritual awakening. I didn't know how to get out of whatever the stress I was doing. So I remember being in my bedroom, and I lived with my husband and my son. Was in my bedroom, and I was watching Oprah, and she said, do this 21-day meditation with Deepak Chopra. And I'm like, and it will bring you peace of mind. And I'm like, I'll do anything for peace of mind. I don't know what, I had done everything that I know what to do. I'd quit smoking. I quit drinking. I quit drinking coffee. I quit drinking pop. All of it. And I still was having anxiety. So I was doing meditation. So I did 21-day meditation. And literally at this point of my life, this was making me feel peaceful. It was making me feel wonderful. I was like, and not only did I feel wonderful, people outside of me were saying this. People were saying, oh my gosh, you're happy. Oh my gosh, you're changed. You feel so much better. You look so much lighter. Things like that. And I'm like, oh my God, this shit's working. So I still was having, anxiety and stuff, but I remember my husband and son would leave for work and I would run to the bedroom because I didn't have to go to work till 10. I owned my own business, which has been a blessing my whole life. I've owned my own business my whole life, basically. And so if I needed time off, I could have it, because in the lifetime that I've lived, I've needed breaks. If you think about it, it's like, I need a break from this. So anyway, I would run to my bedroom and I'd just meditate and I'd feel so wonderful. And I was just like in the bliss. Like, this was my drug, because I didn't have a drug. I wasn't coffee. I wasn't cigarettes. I wasn't alcohol. I wasn't weed. I was nothing, but I had this meditation. And it just, after the 21 days, this stuff was blowing my mind. And all I did was sit there and lay there and listen to a recording of, peace and love and da 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 da. That's all I did. That's all I did. But my mind, I could tell you, my mind has never had the peace and the quiet that ever in my whole life until these 21 days. So, and because I was changing and letting go and releasing, things in my physical reality was getting ready to blow the F up. And they did. And so what I did is I said, thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. Thank you for the peace that I have in my life. Anything that does not serve me, and anything that is making me not have peace, please let it go. Well, honey, when I said that, I didn't really know what I was saying. At that time, I was just like, oh, please let it go. Well, things started leaving: husbands, jobs, businesses, houses, cars. I mean, I was like, holy shit. Like, what am I doing? And then the stress. Oh my God. Then the stress. But here's the thing: in the middle of all this stress, there was a calm. There was a calm. I cannot explain it. I don't know what, but all the stuff that I asked for the stress to be gone was leaving, and I was having calm. Now, I want to tell you something. I was freaking the frick out. I was freaking out. Oh my God, this is not what I asked for. This is not what I asked for. But at the end of the day, it was what I freaking asked for. And at the end of a year or two, I had nothing. I had nothing. I had no rentals. I had no house. I had no car. I had my children. My children were basically older, so they were all stable on their own. They were a big help to me in this spiritual journey. And because I leaned on them, and sometimes I would try to go back to the old me, and they would catch me and say, no, Mom, you can't go back there. You can't go back there. And I was like, But I would want to, because I was familiar with it. You guys, this was my life. I was familiar with it. This is where I had always been, and not always just with my husband. This is, and what I learned later is the people that you attract into your marriage, especially before your spiritual awakening, is what you attracted from when you were a child. This is the childhood trauma. This is the wounding. And so I call him my wound mate. My sister laughs about it. And what do you call him? Your wound mate? Yes, he was my wound mate. He brought every wound out that I had and screaming like, help me, love me, um, because I did not. And I didn't realize any of this because I always thought, what can I do to change me to make him happy? What can I do to change me to make them happy? Um, and the only person that I had to change was me to make me happy. Oh my God. But that's like on down the road. This was a hot mess. Everything was like going crazy. I actually, before I moved out of my house and moved to Florida, because that's what happened next, um, I wrote a book. I wrote a book called Believe, and I put it on Amazon. Go read it. It's about believing in yourself, believing in your beliefs. Because at this time, when I was having all of the spiritual awakening stuff going on, I didn't know what to believe. And I wasn't, before the spiritual awakening, I would believe everything my husband said or anything my mom said. And I did not, I actually did what they said. So it was like I was in a trance. And like if they said, well, go here and do this, then I would do it. And even if I thought of something I wanted to do, I would ask them to make sure, it was okay. But the only thing that I did do that didn't matter if it was okay with them or not was my business. Because I know some of the times that, we should have closed down, or my husband didn't want me to have the business. I was like, no, I have to have this. That business saved my life, because that was a place for me to get out of the terrible situation that I was in. That was a place for me to be creative. That was a place for me to be who I was. Because when I went home, I felt like I had to be on eggshells, or I had to be whatever he wanted me to be. That way, if I was whatever he wanted me to be, or whatever she wanted me to be, my mom, um, then, I would keep the cool in the house, because me, the people pleaser, that's what I did. I tried to keep calm in the house, because if everybody kept calm in the house, then I was calm. Because at the end, just like I said, at my spiritual beginning awakening, all I wanted was peace. Well, when I asked for peace and everything fell away, like everything. I don't even think I had clothes, forks, knives. I mean, everything that I had was gone. And it was like I'm starting new. So I seeked a spiritual teacher, and I was getting on the phone with her and having like live talks and stuff, because I did seek like a counselor, but there wasn't any available here in the town that I lived in. So I'm kind of glad that that was shut off. And so I seeked a spiritual teacher, which was amazing, because then I started learning spiritual aspects of human beings, and health and wellness, and and just life, and like psychology and different stuff like that, and understanding how life goes and how people act, and you know narcissist and codependence and all this stuff. I started learning all this stuff, and that's when I learned that, I was in these terrible situations, but I didn't know I was in them. At the time before the spiritual awakening, I did not know. I did, I knew something, but because I would like go to Walmart and cry in the parking lot. I'd be like sitting in the parking lot crying. I would go to the park and cry on the way home. I didn't even want to go home. And my husband would call and say, "Well, are you on your way home?" And I would be at the park crying because I didn't want to go home. And I'm not trying to blame him, because it was me too. I was just like, it wasn't him at all. It was me. I just knew that there was a bigger, better life out here for me. Um, just, And it wasn't a bigger, better life with like millions of dollars. It was a bigger, better life of my own being, my own mind, my own peace, my own inside of me. Because we all are looking, I'll tell you this 100%, 100%. We're all looking outside of us for that love, that care, that wellness. And nobody's going to make you well. No one's going to love you like you can. And I know it sounds counterintuitive because we were taught that, you love that person and you love that person. And I love like my kids and my family so much, but I also love me. And the reason is because I had to search. Like when I had this whole spiritual awakening, then my husband left and basically my whole family left. I was in a house by myself. And I looked in the mirror and I said, "Who are you?" Like I had no clue. I had always been his mom or his wife or your daughter or Tom, Dick, and Harry's, whatever. I was like, "Who are you?" Suzette, who are you? And things started to change. I started packing shit, giving stuff away, changing. I mean, stuff started changing. Um, and I moved to Florida. I just packed up and I just said, I'm moving. And I did not know. I've never been, I mean, I've been to Florida like vacations and stuff, but I never been to Florida. I just said, I'm just going. I'm just going and moving to Florida. And that's when I started having, because I was by myself, um, and no family, at first, no children, no family, no mom, no nothing. It was just me. And I was doing some inner healing. Like I was journaling. Like at first, when I started this journey, I started journaling like crazy. Like I've got 15, maybe 20 journals with every thought I was thinking. I was just like putting down on a piece of paper because I was just like, what? At first, I didn't know what this is. Like, what's a spiritual awakening? I started seeing numbers. I started seeing, these feathers and things that I would start looking up, these animals. I would just start looking up everything because then at that point, and when you're on a spiritual awakening, you start realizing that everything has a meaning. So numbers have a meaning and animals have a meaning and, you know, every little thing has a meaning. And that's when I was on this journey and I remember I was in Florida and I was crying and I was like, my dad doesn't love me and my mom doesn't love me. And just going through the motions, which we have to go through those motions to get on the other side. Did my mom really love me? Yes. Did my dad really love me? Yes. But these were the feelings I needed to feel and to get out. And um we don't let ourselves do that. So a part of a spiritual awakening is to feel your feelings. So like I love it. Well, I don't love it, but I say I love this point. When people say, I'm going to whip your ass, but don't cry when you were a kid, it's like, that doesn't even make any sense. So feel your feelings. I'm going to whip your ass. I want you to feel it. And then I want you to get your emotions in it and feel it. Because if you let your emotions go through you and feel it, it's amazing. It releases. You are released. Let me see if I have any comments. I'm going to go on here. And you guys, I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me what, if you've been through a spiritual awakening, what guided you to it? What led you to it? What happened? Like mine was a divorce. Mine was like boom, bang, boom. And it happened so quick in one day. And like cops came. I mean, it was crazy. And it was just like that. And it was dramatic and yelling and screaming and tearing shit up. I mean, it was crazy. But I think about it now. It had to be that big dramatic thing for me because I'm stubborn. I probably was getting signs the whole time going, Suzette, you need to leave. Suzette, you need to leave. You need to do this. You need to do that. But at this point of the time, I didn't know anything. I was just going to do what everybody told me to do. So that now I was like waking up to myself. I was like, oh my God, I'm a person. I can do what I want. There's nobody here. At that point of looking in the mirror, I was like, my husband's gone. I'm no kids are here. It's just me. I'm just like, oh my God, like, who are you? What kind of life are you going to live? So I went to Florida. I was on the spiritual journey, just releasing. I met some amazing friends that are still here today. I went into Alasa's office in Palm Harbor, which is still there, but it's named different right now. Um, and I just told her everything and just got everything off of my slate, just anything that's good or bad or ugly or terrible. And she just welcomed me with open arms. I love you. I care. I've never felt anything other than love from her. She just really cares about people. And she just wants to help them along in their spiritual journey. It was amazing. And if there was a place where you could pay, or if you couldn't, you could do chores. It was just general, or not general, genuine love that you could feel from that. Now that was a spiritual awakening for me, or spiritual people for me. Not that I didn't give money, because I donated when I could, but I'm saying um it's crazy to know that I didn't know, like, until I moved to Florida, that there were spiritual people out there, that there was books out there. I'd see numbers and I'd start bawling when I went to Florida, and then I'd go to like a metaphysical book place, and there was a New York Times bestseller on angel numbers. And I'm like, holy shit, this stuff is real. Here in Indiana, we didn't see this. We didn't see stuff like that. We didn't even have medical physical stores here. So the whole spiritual awakening, there was nothing here to help you to do that. So I'm glad that God guided me to a spiritual teacher, to spiritual people in Florida, to where I needed to be to get the help that I needed, because I thought I was nuts. My daughter thought, you're crazy. You're going to a hospital. um, so that was hard on me, because, my daughter, me and my kids are close, very close. And when she thought, you're going to a hospital, I'm like, no, I just need somebody to hear me and see me and love me, and not send me to a crazy ward. Because I wasn't crazy at all. I am not crazy. This stuff is real. Um, a spiritual awakening is, I'd say, one of the hardest things that you could ever go through, but you are awake and aware to this world, to this reality, to these people, to what's going on in your surroundings, to your wellness, to your body. One thing I've learned on a spiritual awakening is you don't fit in very well, um, because it's not the norm. I guess it's not the norm. And you can't really work a 3D job, because at any minute you can be fluctuating on your spirituality. I've tried to work so many 3D jobs. I probably haven't had a W-2 job for like 5 or 6 years. I do have I call it 3D job, but I work by myself. So I get 1099s. I can do those where I work alone. And when I worked in Florida, I worked alone with like healthcare. I've been in healthcare for over 30 years. But I found out, when you're on a spiritual journey, it's a lone journey. It's a alone journey. You do this alone. You don't do it with a bunch of people. I mean, there's people supporting you, groups and stuff like that. But the journey is about you, and about what you need to shed, what you need to get rid of, what you need to work through, so you could be you. Now, I believe that the reason I became aware on my spiritual journey is to love myself, because in the situations that I was in my life, I wasn't loving myself. I would let people abuse me. I'd let people walk all over me. And I did not know any better. I just did, if my mom said, well, you do this, even if it was nice or mean on her part, I didn't know the difference. I just did it. So, like, if my husband told me, because I attracted my mother into my husband. So you attract, and that's another thing. My book on Amazon, it's called Believe, Suzette Denny, Like Attracts Like. I say this all the time. I know some people don't believe it. I believe it 100%. So the like, and the reason why I believe it is because the like energy that I had as a child, I was attracting into my husband, and then I attracted into my job. So like I was getting the abuse from there to, it went to stages until finally I was like, holy shit, I'm not doing this anymore. I mean, I literally remember I'm in a hotel saying, I'm never doing this again. Nobody will ever hurt me again. And they haven't. And they haven't. And I'm not going to let them. I will leave. I will walk out. If I feel, I don't care if you're my mom, your dad, your daughter, son, I'm not doing it. Or, if I feel like that sort of way, I'll just say, hey, no, I won't deal with that. And I haven't had to deal with that ever since. It was like that last boom, you're not doing this. I will not deal with this anymore. Another thing I found on my spiritual journey is I don't have any of my old friends. Not that I'm not saying I don't have them. A lot of them don't know what I'm doing. A lot of them do not know what a spiritual journey is. Back when I was younger, we'd smoke and drink and party, and they're still doing that. And I don't do that ever. It's just something that doesn't resonate with me anymore. And not that I didn't have fun when I was a kid and we were doing all that. Then that's when I was 3D. I'm not saying 3D or 5D is better. I'm just saying this is my journey. So I am on a 5D journey now, which is a higher consciousness, higher awareness, and not in the lower, aspects of life anymore. So it's been kind of weird to find friends like that. I do have friends online. There's people in Florida. Um, but somebody on a daily day basis that I hang out with that's spiritual, no, I do not. Okay. Another thing is your family thinks you're crazy. And at first they did. What's going on? You need help. All the things. But none of that's happening now. Most of my family, most of my friends, most of the people that are around me ask me, like, what can we do for this? What can we do for that situation? Um, Hello. So most of them ask me now, which is great. But I want to tell you something. Going through a spiritual journey is not fun at all because you're scared and you're afraid and you're losing everything. But at the end of this journey, it's been the best. It has been best. It has been so good. And I've had so many blessings. I've had so many um I have so much peace in my mind. You don't have to have peace outside of you to have peace inside of you. You don't have to have love, somebody loving on you to feel love that you have for yourself. Because having the love for yourself is, I'm not putting up with that shit anymore. I'm not listening to what you say because that's not right. I'm not taking your abuse because that's not who I am. I love me and I don't want to hurt me anymore. I want to drink lots of water and I want to eat and I want to exercise and I want to be healthy. Um, that's love for yourself. And a lot of the people you see in reality do not do that and think that loving yourself is getting your hair done or your nails done. That's loving to yourself to make yourself look better, but inside it's love and compassion and peace and regulating your nervous system and exercising your body and eating right, and that's all the stuff that's in the inside. And when you're good and you feel peaceful, and then you can bring it on the outside. You'll start attracting peaceful, nice, loving, caring people that have actually gave me, and I have had so many miracles, like living in a beach house for $300. I mean, nobody could even imagine that. I mean, I couldn't even imagine that. Miracles have happened to me over and over and over. um, when I first was starting to manifest, that's when I started learning how to manifest. I said, I want to live in a beach house and I don't want to have to pay any bills. I actually lived with a girl that I was working for in a $1.6 million beach home on the ocean and didn't have to pay a dime. They were paying me to take care of their mother because I was doing that anyway. Now, I was like, "Oh my god." Like, I couldn't believe it, and these people were so nice. They would just pay for my I had money, but they was like, "Here, let me pay for your airlines. Let me pay for your camera," because I did eBay. I've done eBay for like 20 years. Um, and I had never experienced that's so terrible to say. Oh my god, I'm feeling it right now. I have never experienced that kind of love and compassion and people caring and loving and just people I don't even know, like, giving me stuff. I was like, "What is this?" Because I grew up and here's the big thing, you guys, and we're gonna talk about this in another time, but here's the big thing. It all comes back to your childhood. The people you're attracting, the drinking, the drugs, if you're a spiritual person, if you just sit back and you look at people's families, you can tell what they've learned because you've learned it. You've learned the drinking and the smoking, and you've learned the drugs, and you've learned, the drug dealing, and you've learned the spiritual stuff. You've learned going to church every Sunday. You've learned, what's good and what's bad, and you've learned the fashion, and it's all learned. It's all learned, and whatever you believe. So, all that trauma of my spiritual awakening was from me and my husband breaking up. Was the best thing we ever did. He called me when I lived in Florida and said we had to do this. Actually, he's probably went on his own spiritual awakening. I don't think I've talked to him for like 10 years. But it's it's a blessing, you guys. It looks like a hot mess. It's a blessing. And here's the thing. Right now, every I put on Facebook this today about everything looks like on a spiritual journey, everything looks kind of like it's bad. So when I lost everything at first, like I lost everything, that looked terrible. It was the best thing that ever happened. I just moved back to Florida and then I had to come back. That looks like it's bad. And then my grandma passed away. That looks like it's bad. But things are turning around and everything comes for good. God makes everything for good, you guys. God makes everything come out in your favor. It doesn't look like it. It never does. So it looks like, oh my God, I moved to Florida. Now it's a failure and I'm back and now I'm going to do all this stuff. God is rearranging miracles. I am telling you this to set you up. And it's not a straight line. It's not like, oh, going this way. You could say, I'm going to be a carpenter. And then you're over here and you're over here and you're over here. My daughter is one of the best people I can explain this. She does all these jobs. Like and every one of them is built on top of what she needs, what she needs, what she needs, what she needs, what she needs. Need to learn this, you need to learn that, you need to learn, and that's how we all are. We all go places and people and things and work and whatever to get you to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. The next step of your job, your relationships, your business, your spirituality, your spirituality. So that was the beginning of my spirituality, of when it started developing about 10 years ago, maybe 14. I'm not sure exactly what the date is. I think it's the 2014. So it might be 10 years ago. But it was a hot mess. A little bit of the story is in my book on Amazon. Um, But if things are falling, let them go. Don't fight it. I have fought it. I have fought a lot of this um, because we're scared. We don't know what's on the other side. And I know to some people it looks like, oh, you just let go. And no, I don't. I don't. I really have to do a lot of journaling. I'm burning papers, let it go. And I might have to do it, a couple times to let it go, because you have to let everything go. And that's I love saying this because I'm holding this pen, and until I let go of this pen, I cannot put anything else in this hand. So remember, every time you let something go, something new's coming, and it always is shiny like a diamond. It's always better. You don't believe it, you don't think it is. Like me, I was like, "I've lost my house, my husband, I mean, I lost it all. I didn't even have a fork." And I was like, "Poor me." And then my life is amazing. I'm like, "Oh my god." I would get like, if I had all that stuff back, I'd be like, "Here, take it." I'd be giving it to you because what I've gained, you cannot even buy. You cannot buy this shit at a store. And I think about it now and I'm like, "Oh my god," when I left last time, I had so much stuff that I had built up. I have probably like built up 3 or 4 houses since then. Always get so much stuff. Like I always have abundant of stuff. And I'm just giving it away, selling some of it and then giving the rest of it away. And I felt like, "Oh my god, I want the stuff back. I want the stuff back." But you know what? It always comes back so much more. And sometimes it comes into a download of spirituality that that nobody could take. You can't even give it to somebody. Sometimes the gifts that you get as a spiritual person, you cannot give away and nobody can take from you. So, yes, this journey's lonely sometimes. And yes, sometimes you feel like an outsider. But I guarantee you there's people out there going, "Man, I want that. I want that." And there's no physical way that you could give that to them. There's no gift. Your inside gifts are yours. And there you can't give them away. And they're yours. And I know for experience that so many people's like, "How do you do this? How do you manifest that? How do you do this?" You manifest everything. And as much as I talk and tell them and show them, they have to figure it out for themselves because the way I manifest something is not going to be the way you manifest something. I might be doing stuff behind the scenes that you're not knowing. Probably am. But you have to come up with your own manifestation stuff, you guys. And it's so much fun. You have to make it fun. It's when you see it in physical reality, you are like, hello. And and it is so yummy. So yes, my spiritual journey looked like hell, scary, death. I mean, crime. I mean, it looked like a mob show. I feel like. But on the other side, I got my peace. I got my love. Now, I want to say I'm not love and peace every second and minute of the day. I'm not. I do get yell. I do yell and I get angry, and I'm a human, so I do live in a human body. But I can control like intelligent, emotional intelligence. I'd say 70% of the time. I'm not going to say 100% because I don't think anybody can. And that's only when I can control the way my reaction is to things. Like sometimes you will run into a narcissist that's, "Oh my god, da, 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 da." And if you can say, "Well, okay, I'll talk to you later," instead of used to, I'd say, if somebody said bad stuff about me or to me, I would react like, "Oh my god, they don't love me," or "I hate them, son of a da 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 da." Now I'm just like, "Oh, okay, have a good day, bless and be blessed," because that way you're not tearing up your peace. I worked hard for this piece. I gave up a lot of shit for this piece, and I'm not giving it to you. That's what you say. That's what you say. And when you get the peace and the love and all this stuff that you want in your life, because that's what everybody wants, you don't have to you don't have to give it away because you are actually giving it away when you react. Now, I've gave it away still now to this day. Like when you get angry or hungry or whatever, lower vibes, then yes, you do. But most of the time, if you can keep control of it, it's keeping your peace is for you. It's your gift. And because they're over there going like, "Oh my god, they're crazy," and the house is being tore up and setting the house on fire, and you're like, "Oh wow, we're having a house burned down today." You just go on with it because it's not your madness. It's not your madness. But you have to realize that this is about you. This is about you. It's a personal journey. So I'm going to get on next week and talk about the childhood part of this, because that's when I became aware and awake and writing these books and journaling all this. I realized this all came from childhood. And that blew my mind. And then I had to get rid of a lot of that childhood wounding so I could become the adult that I am today. Because I'll tell you what, a spiritual awakening is about becoming a grown up, and being able to discern what is good and what's not for you personally, not for your mom, not for your dad, not for your kids, for you. This is about you. And it's not selfishly about you, because I'll tell you what, if you become the adult and you become who you want to be spiritually and physically and emotionally and mentally, the people around you will start doing it too. And you don't have to say a word to them. It just happens like that. So, next week, we're going to talk about the childhood trauma, but I want you guys to put in the comments how did you become on your spiritual journey? What was it? Mine was a big divorce. Mine was that was the kicker to it. It had always been coming on. I had actually went to a psychic, and the lady said, "I will not give you a reading. You can read yourself," which is true for this day, to this day. Um, and where have you been? You should have been here 5 years ago. So my actually spiritual awakening was supposed to happen a long time ago, and I kept fighting it and fighting it, because we can fight it, and you will feel the pain. If you want to fight it, you will feel the pain, or you can just go with it. Now I just go with it. Like yesterday, I was having pain in my stomach. And I said, what is this? And I put on Facebook, when you're having pains, you're causing or stress on yourself. Most of our pain is caused stress on I have done so many meditations. It's like, release this pain. This pain is not mine. And it'll be gone like that, because we carry other people's pains. We are a vibe person. We are all vibing, and our vibes can hit their vibes, and then their vibes would be like on us, and we're like, oh. Or how people say they're stealing our energy. We can also collect other people's energy and feel like we're having a pain that's not even ours. So that's another part of spirituality that you'll learn once you do it. But for my recommendations, do it. You will get everything you want, you guys. And it's not like, will I get $1 million? You can. It depends on what you want. Now, for me, if I say I want $1 million, I mean I want freedom, I want peace. That's my $1 million. Um, some people want to be movie stars and up on the screen and telling everybody what to do. But right now in my job, I do it when I want and I get paid. I don't need to make a lot of money because I'm in this situation where I can and I can't. I don't have to. Um, so I'm taking advantage of that right now, to my advantage of my peace and my love for myself, because things change all the time. I was just in Florida paying big money, and now I'm in a situation where I've been able to save money and put money towards my credit cards and stuff that I'm paying off. So life changes, and what benefits for you, because at the end of the day, it's you, baby. It's you. All right. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to this. Um, let me know what you think. Let me know about your spiritual journey, how it began, how you felt in the middle of it. How do you feel right now? And also, come back next week, because it'll be childhood trauma. What I went through and realized that was an extension of what I was going through as an adult. Ooh, it's so yummy. All right, you guys, I love you so much, and I will talk to you next week. Have the best day ever.